but tigers will actually prey on them, and they will take advantage of the fact that they are hibernating and attack them. Okay, so I want to just do a review drawing the head of a tiger one more time. Okay, so I'm kind of drawing a big spherical shape for the head here. Am I not in?
You're in.
Okay. And then I'm kind of lightly running my pen across, trying to find kind of that center line where those eyes are going to be. And sometimes I might draw that and sometimes I might not. And then there's a big massive muscle right here. And there is a nice kind of median line that goes up the entire cat here. And it's kind of that point where the sagittal crest rises up. Okay? Move over here. Find a nice spot for this eye, and then I'm going to put the mass here. So another big landmark, of course, is that zygomatic arch, really on any animal, and that's that big cheekbone. Okay, and on cats, of course, it's very, very pronounced. Okay, so then from here, you kind of think about the shapes moving towards us, right? We're drawing this at 3/4. And last time we talked about how there's some big muscles right here that you can use as an artist to give expressions.
Is the tiger the easiest animal for you to draw?
The tiger is the most easiest animal just because I have drawn it so many times. I do love drawing bears, elephants as well, and gorillas. Probably my favorite animals to draw.
How do you draw visible muscles?
It depends on how much you want to exaggerate drawing the muscles. On Gulag, a lot of times I will draw a lot of the muscles in, more than you would see because there would be a lot of superficial fur. So when you draw, a tiger nose, it is. Is this on frame, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're good.
There is kind of a nice symmetry to it. Okay, this would be like straight on. And it does hang over, because it is kind of a nostril. And it can flare a little bit, right? So it's kind of at a downward angle here. We talked about last week how most of the time animals will kind of have their head at a 45-degree angle. So then I'm going to try to feel the muzzle. Imagine where those teeth are set in. Okay. And feel free, please draw along. I'm trying to go a little slower than I did last week so that you guys can draw with me. Now if you look here, can they see this?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So you have the nose here, right? And then look at the jowls. Look how big they are. And look how they overhang the bottom jaw. So if I were to peel this jaw up, those giant canines that the Siberian tigers have would come all the way down here, and they would just be resting on the outside of this, okay? And these jowls cover them. Does that make sense? So look how steep that is right there. Boom, boom, that shape there. And then here is like all that extra lip that tigers have. So when they open their mouths, this can stretch really, really wide. You can tell, animals that can stretch their mouths wide by kind of the extra skin fold, lip fold that you get there. So again, thinking about that overhang, think about that shape that comes down here. And I kind of try to think of it as a box. If you guys kind of have a basic understanding of perspective, that can help a lot. Okay. So here, I feel like I've gotten the basic shape of the tiger down. Okay, and then going to the neck. Now the big thing that's missing here, right, is that really fun scruff, that tigers have. And depending on the subspecies and the tiger itself, the scruff will, vary. From my experience, the Malayan tiger seems to have the least amount of scruff. The Sumatran has a very kind of exaggerated scruff. It's really cool looking. And the Amur tiger has kind of the fullest. And I think that just makes sense for for where they live. Now remember, there's kind of those two parts to the ear. There's that first fold, and there's that second fold that goes around like this, and then like that, okay? And then you have this, like that, and like that, okay? And then the hair will usually kind of radiate out from there, from this point outward, okay?
Are you going to save this live video somewhere?
Yeah, I think I will. I'll try to stick it up on my Instagram TV if I can figure that out. And of course, a tiger is not a tiger without its stripes. And you know, every tiger has unique stripes, but a lot of them have similar patterns where you will have kind of horizontal radiating stripes coming off of the median line here, kind of like this. And then you'll get smaller ones that will kind of flare off around the eye. They all usually have like an eyeliner right here, a nice beautiful black line that kind of accentuates their eyes. And then this, of course, around here is kind of the white patch. And then there are usually kind of contoured stripes kind of in here. But every tiger is a little different. Some tigers that I've seen will actually kind of have almost bald spots where there are no stripes, where you kind of would imagine there would be more stripes. And then on the sides, there's usually kind of long striations that kind of connect and go there. And remember, whenever you're drawing the stripes, make sure they complement the form of the cat so that you don't, you know, flatten the cat out like that. Okay. So tomorrow evening, I have a friend on Instagram who is actually a biologist who studies Amur tigers, and he's agreed to kind of do a Q&A on Instagram Live, and I wanted to ask him a whole bunch of things about Amur tigers, what they prey on, the different habitats that they kind of live in throughout the year. And I just thought it would be fascinating to share with everyone, because I think most of the people who follow me also kind of share a fascination with these amazing cats.
Where does the personality and expression most radiates in the face?
You know, it's really right in here. If you want, here, let's do a drawing that actually has more of an expression. So I'm not drawing My Ghost to the Gulag, I'm just drawing a tiger. But you can get a lot of expressions while being relatively faithful to the anatomy. One of my favorite artists is the late Heinrich Kley. He was very influential on early Disney movies. He did a whole series with alligators and elephants, ice skating and dancing. And if you watch Dance of the Hours in Fantasia, I don't know how it's not inspired by his work. He was amazing. And then there's another one from that kind of same era called named T.S. Sullivan, and both of them would draw tigers and lions and elephants in very caricatured ways, but also with a real eye for anatomy. So kind of using those muscles as eyebrows, you can get a lot of expression, you know, out of your tiger.
Do the tiger and wolf have names rather than just Shadow Walker and Tizrovich? If not, if they did, what would they be? I
don't want to spoil too many things. The the Tsarevich definitely has a name. And we will meet his family, and they will call him by name. The Shadow Walker, he was called Winter, born by his mother, or Winter. And so that, I guess, is his given name. Of course, he hasn't been with his mother since he was just a little cub. And that's kind of one of the big motivations and losses, that the tiger has. So here's kind of like a fun caricatured tiger with a little more expression. So like I'm really focusing in this area and this area, but then you can also use, the ears to try to give yourself kind of fun expressions. So now that we're kind of warmed up on drawing a tiger head, why don't we draw a bear?
When it comes to drawing, is there an animal that would push you out of your comfort zone?
Sure. It would, be an animal that I haven't drawn frequently. There are certain gazelles that I'm not too familiar with, that when I've drawn them, I've had to kind of stop and really look. I really love drawing everything, except for snakes. I guess I don't really draw snakes. All right, so bears are huge. They're massive, and they are kind of just muscle and fur on top of each other. I learned how to draw bears by watching amazing people draw them. One of my heroes is Tara Whitlatch. If you're not familiar with her, you should look her up. And the other is Aaron Blaze. Both of them are kind of just masters at drawing bears, and I've really looked to them throughout the years to see kind of how they do it. So for me, still find that zygomatic arch. I'm finding kind of a center line, right? The eyes are much smaller in comparison to the head than they would be on the tiger. And then a bear is all about their nose, okay? And their nose kind of sits on a longer muzzle. It comes all the way down. And their nose is, more canine than anything, kind of in its shape and structure, but even more pronounced. And I guess it's not a surprise because they are, so attuned to smell.
Where did you come up with the idea of Ghost of the Gulag?
Ghost of the Gulag, I've always wanted to do a story about a tiger, and I've been fascinated with Amur tigers more than any other tiger growing up. And I was also a big fan of Sergio Leone westerns. And after I read the comic Akira, I decided that I wanted to try to make my own comic set in that area. So a lot of times bears will kind of have a lazy lip that you can play with and you can push a little bit.
What's the most common mistake you can make when drawing a bear head?
I make mistakes all the time. I think a lot of times it's getting that nose right and the mouth. I think a lot of times people don't pay attention to how it is, and they almost simplify it to something that it really isn't. Bears are animals that are really, really fun to anthropomorphize because they are very human-like. There are lots of kind of Native American myths of bears and humans and kind of their kinship and closeness. I grew up in Farmington, Utah, and there are no grizzly bears there, but we would go up to Yellowstone often and see them. In fact, this winter I saw a grizzly bear in the middle of winter in Yellowstone at a kill. He stole a kill from a pack of wolves. It's called the Junction Butte Pack that he stole it from. And I learned a lot from that they will actually kind of have a soft hibernation, and if there is any food, that they will come out for it. Hey Quentin, can you go back in your room, buddy? Okay, so that is a bear head. So, you know, kind of to boil it down, so you can understand my thinking, there's kind of a shape like this, and then there's muscles on top of that, and then there's a muzzle that comes off of it, kind of like this, right? And then you can kind of position that mouth however you want, and then a large nose that comes out like this, and then behind that you have another big mass, and then another big mass up to the hump. So brown bears and grizzly bears are kind of subspecies of one another. And one of the distinctive things about them is that they have a hump. So like let's see. So very quickly, I'm gonna rough in a tiger kind of rough skeleton. So we talked about last week that tigers are digitigrades, which means that they walk on their toes. Okay.
What's it like being an artist as a job? How do you balance your time with work and whatever you do, whatever you want to do?
It's hard, you know. I have a family and I have kids that have needs, and you know, everyone needs you know, help and attention, and I do too. But I can never imagine myself not drawing. I guess I do enjoy being able to work for a living. I wish I could spend more time just drawing animals like this. Okay, so very basic. So you have the shoulder blade here. You have the head of the humerus here going down to the elbow down here. And then you have the pelvis. You have the femur going to the patella, right, your kneecap, going down to your shin here, going down to your calf muscle here, right? Then you have your Achilles. And then you have your bottom of your foot, and then you're on your toes. Okay? And one part that we're doing with this Ghost of the Gulag Volume 2 is I've been working on an animal drawing book, and the version that I currently have will be available to everyone who backs the project. So it doesn't matter if, you know, you back for $10 or for $200, you will get a digital copy of this book I've been working on. And it will include a lot of the animals that we are drawing right now. Okay, so a bear is a plantigrade, which is what we are actually, which means, kind of in rough terms, that they walk on the palms of their feet, okay? So this is kind of really quick and crude. I just want to show you how the joints work. So
do you still have any reservations about your abilities as an artist? If so, what's your personal way of dealing with them?
Every artist deals with self-doubt. Self-doubt is a sign that you are a true artist and that you care. I think the fraud is wildly confident and is kind of masking their own insecurities by being confident. Like every great artist that I've known struggles liking their own work, and yeah. So how do you do it? You stick your head down and you keep drawing. That's what you do. You try to stay as humble as you can. But yeah, no, every artist I know is always kind of struggling in one way to become a better artist.
Is it possible for us to draw a lynx today?
A lynx! Softpaw is definitely one of my favorites. What can we get more likes for a lynx? If we can get it, we can do that for sure. Who wants to draw a lynx? Okay, so if I were going to draw this bear kind of superficially, it would be something like this. Okay? So you'd have the shoulder blade here, humerus. This is very similar, right? You have the elbow, but then flat right there, right? And then you have the pelvis here, and then you have the femur, you have the knee all the way up here, and then you have the shin, but it goes all the way down to the foot. So it's almost as if you or I were kind of on all fours. So that's why when they stand up, they feel so similar to kind of the way we stand, right? So if a lot of people want to draw a lynx, okay, let's draw a lynx. I think that would be fine. I love Soft Paw. She is definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire book. So when they stand up, they can almost have like a humanoid kind of look to them, you know, like this. So just super rough, just to kind of show you guys, you know, when a bear stands up, they can really get big and tall, right? Okay, if that's what you guys want, we will take a break from a bear and we will draw a lynx. If we're being honest, the lynx I draw is kind of a hybrid between a Canadian lynx and a Eurasian lynx. The Canadian lynx will have very, very big paws and simple coloration. The Eurasian lynx or the Siberian lynx won't be as gray and will have a few more spots, and the paws aren't quite as pronounced. Frankly, they kind of look like my bobcats that I get out here. So let's start with the head of a lynx. So one thing, Ben, will you grab my bobcat skull?
Which one?
Can you tell which one's a bobcat? Yeah, that's it. Nope, that's the serval. That's the bobcat. Yep. They're very similar. Okay, so in comparison to like a tiger, the eyes are enormous, right? Look how big these eyes are. So you can really play up the look of the eyes as much as you want. This is a bobcat, not a lynx, but very, very similar. The bobcat would be smaller, of course, and a lynx a little more robust, but similar. So if we kind of know and understand our comparative anatomy, we can kind of take the things that we were doing with the tiger and change some of the proportions, okay? So again, you can see here too, the snout is much shorter, right? And you're going to get a much smaller kind of petite shape here. And the biggest feature really is the zygomatic arch is very impressive. The noses are very cute. One artist described it to me as a little gumdrop nose, and I thought that was like the perfect description.
How's Autumn doing?
I haven't seen Autumn for a week and a half. I hope she is doing okay. The one thing I need help with, there is a new male who seems to be the resident, and maybe he is the new father if she is going to have kittens again. Because Grayback, the old resident male, has not been around for a long, long time. So I need to name him, and I haven't figured out a good name for this more exotic. And he's exotic to me because he has really, really striking stripes almost and spots that Autumn doesn't have. Autumn is a little more plain with very few spots. Okay, so the silhouette of the head right away is very different, right? She has kind of this cool scruff that kind of comes down like this. And then, again, there are still the two shapes to the ear, right? There's that lower shape and the upper shape, and then the fold of the ear right here, okay? And then at the top, you're going to get those really, really cool tufts. One of the coolest lynx is the one from Spain. I'm blanking on its name. Anyway, the Spanish lynx, that's not what it's called, has really, really striking markings. So then from here, I kind of do some markings that kind of come up like this on her. then a few kind of that accentuate some of her eyes. And you can kind of exaggerate those tufts as much as you want. And she kind of always has kind of a demure kind of smile on when I draw her. You never really know what she's up to. And again, she will have like a little bit of eyeliner as well. It's usually kind of a little white spot that goes kind of right underneath, right there, like that. And that's how I would do kind of a 3/4 headshot.
The Iberian lynx is what you meant, I think.
Iberian, thank you. Very good. Kudos. There's a great documentary on BBC called Seven Worlds, One Planet, I think. And they do an amazing segment on the Iberian lynx. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. But they have just these striking eyes. And their tufts are kind of even more exaggerated than soft paws are. So even though it's winter, I usually kind of play down her coat a little bit. So if I were going to draw a full body lynx, should we do that? One of my favorite artists is a teacher at Columbus School of Art Design. Charlotte, it's Bella Pixel, I think is her handle. She has these amazing gestures that I love to look at. And kind of when I try to lay in my gestures, I try to do it in a similar way where I'm always trying to connect rubber bands that will hold the tension of the pose without being too beholden to everything. And then as the sketch progresses, I can tighten. So one thing with the tail, and this is true with bobcats too, some people treat it the way that you would treat like a bobbed tail on a dog, okay? But a bobtail on a dog is literally a tail that has been cut off, right? It's true they don't have as many vertebrae as like a long cat in their tail, but they have a bunch, and that tail can move back and forth. If you've seen my videos of Autumn, it can be quite expressive.
Why does softpaw have the characteristics similar to a wolf? A fox, my bad.
When you say fox, do you mean just, do you mean like that she's sly like a fox in a way? I'm not sure exactly what that question means. In the comic, I treat her kind of...
Her character.
Her character. I try to treat her character, as...
Her character is similar to a fox.
Yeah, I actually try to treat her character as a bit of a trickster, someone who lusts after power and feels safe with power. I think she's also a character that is dying to be loved and appreciated. Oh, that was a lousy rough. Let's do a draw over of this and get this better. So again, I'm just using a Sharpie right now, nothing fancy. And sometimes I like doing that. I know some people will actually take a little X-Acto knife and they'll get a nice angle. I think that's smart and fun. But yeah, the softfoot might be small, but she's definitely not to be trifled with. And she definitely has a bone to pick with the Shadow Walker now. If you guys are up on the comic, the tiger kind of betrayed her trust. recently, and so she's definitely going to be out for revenge.
Ha! Oh, come on, David Derrick. You think that was lousy?
Like I said, I think most artists are hard on themselves, and we can be our worst critics. But you're right; it's good to be kind to ourselves too, and that is important. And to kind of see the victories. But I think it's important to always be challenging ourselves. Ugh, I'm killing that head. Let me do a better one. Okay, I'm just gonna shake it up here. You guys surprised me. I wasn't planning on doing a lynx, but I love drawing lynx, so okay. So I mentioned earlier, we will be doing a Q&A tomorrow. I haven't set the time with him exactly yet, but with a biologist who specializes in studying Amur tigers in the wild. And I want to just ask him so many questions about their habits, their diet, what the taiga is like over there. He's actually spent time over there. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. So right now I'm drawing soft paw sitting down. And I'm going to have her crossing her paws like this. Okay. And sometimes it's fun just to let yourself know that you're not making a final drawing and that you are just kind of searching and finding it. Okay, so I'm much happier with this pose. This feels more like my soft paw that I like to draw. But just so you guys know, there are pages in my comic that I really labor over trying to get the right pose. My son came by yesterday, and then he came by an hour later, and he said, "Are you drawing the same paw still?" And I was. I kept redrawing it because it didn't feel right to me, and I pulled out some reference, and I was trying to get it just right.
Can you draw in the Lion King style?
You mean like the 90s version? Do they mean the
Yes.
original? I have not, but I definitely could. Absolutely could. I actually worked on the latest Lion King, and for me, growing up, the original Lion King was so amazing for me. It really it brought everything together. All my likes were kind of in one place, and yeah, what they did was just jaw-dropping. And so the opportunity came up to work with Jon Favreau on the remake, and so I couldn't pass it by because ever since I have been in animation, we haven't had an animal movie, an all-animal movie like Bambi or The Lion King. And so I couldn't pass it up. And so for, about a year and a half, I drew lions for it, and it was really fun. They actually had me make model sheets for the artists to figure out how to, simplify them and draw them quickly, but anatomically correct, and it was really, really fun. So when I draw her paws, I do like to exaggerate them a little bit so that they are closer to almost that Canadian lynx size.
What kind of paper is that?
This is old animation paper from my days at school. You can see these holes. These are for a pegboard, an animation peg strip. I can't remember what they're called. And then you would kind of put a little rubber band, and then you would kind of flip your animation like this, back and forth. And it's the way 2D drawing or 2D animation was done for years and years. And that's what I actually went to school for, believe it or not, was 2D animation, which fortunately is very rarely practiced or done, but it is kind of my favorite thing in the world. I love it. So I kind of just used that first quick sketch to make sure I kind of stayed on target. What you really don't want to do is trace. I just try to use that to help me know what I found in that last sketch that was working, and then to kind of build off of that. So some of the rewards for Ghost of the Gulag will be original sketches, kind of like this, where I will draw characters from the comic. I will actually paint some of them up too, in different ways. All right, so there's a Softfoot, the lynx. Are there any other characters you guys would like to see? And again, a little trick is as the form is turning, instead of like drawing every hair, I like to draw a few to indicate which way the body is turning volumetrically, if that makes sense. So to kind of help define that form. Do you want to switch gears completely and draw an elephant? Does anyone want to draw an elephant?
Venom SK wants to see more of the bear.
More bear? Okay, let's go back to the bear. Okay, so bear paws are really cool too. A tiger paw we talked about last week is 4 digits on the ground, right? And then there's the one up high, right? So you have kind of like this, and they have the protractable claws or retractable claws that can kind of come in or out. A bear, on the other hand, has all 5 claws kind of front and center. So they'll have, and their claws are enormous. They're not sharp like a tiger's claws, because they are always out, and they're mainly for digging. But they have all 5 digits right there that will come down. After this, do an elephant. Okay. It was split on who wants an elephant. Okay. So that's kind of what a paw looking down kind of on the same angle compared to a tiger's, would kind of look like. All right. What am I doing right now? I am trying to find a cool line of action with some energy. So this is how I will find kind of dynamic poses. What if these two are fighting, right? What if they are lunging at one another? And just try to feel it out. Okay, I'm not worried about like getting it right. I'm just trying to feel it. Got the bear head here. He's rising up. He's got this big, massive muscle back here. He's pushing up off of his feet. Oh, bears have big guts. Big guts. Why? Because they can eat everything. They are omnivorous. They will eat grass. They will eat grass almost like a cow. They will eat fish. They will eat like mollusky things. They will eat deer, and they will get into scrapes with tigers. Tigers will usually prey on the smaller bears, and usually the young, like the cubs. Okay, all right. So maybe this is a shape for a bear lunging. Okay, what if we get the tiger here? So can you see? I'm just like, I'm just trying to feel the energy of this. Okay, and I'm not worried at all about my anatomy yet. So I just wanted to maybe raise this up, get this contact in here. Okay, I'm liking this. Okay. So now, then I will take this and I will try to feel out and see what I made and see if it's going to work. This is how I do my comic. You guys have seen some of the pages. What is this guy doing? It just looks like he's scribbling, and I am. I'm trying to find the energy. Whoa. Just try to feel it. Big belly. And pushing off that hind leg. So usually, like, these kind of drawings will take me at least 2 drawings to get where I want it. And like the super rough, and then kind of an intermediary. Okay. Oh, big, massive. So, tigers are big, but they're cats, and cats actually are kind of, skinnier than they are girthy, right? Even though a Siberian tiger and Amur tiger can get kind of girthy, they are more elegant. So if this bear is big and blocky and pushing his weight up. I recently kind of rewatched some of Brother Bear. Man, they got some really good bear stuff in there. Just really, really powerful stuff. Those animators did an amazing job. So still kind of feeling out this tiger. Now I'm trying to feel out where all its anatomy would fit. I'm going to turn the head a little. So I'll do that trick of going like that. Get that muzzle. Okay. Wow, like that. Okay, I'm just feeling it out. Okay. Sometimes you just press harder. But don't press too hard, you'll hurt your hand. I've actually done that and had to go to the doctor. So take care of your hands. Okay. And isn't it crazy that an animal as big as a bear can be taken out by a tiger? Tiger is powerful, but a bear is huge. When you think about like what I saw in Yellowstone, you wouldn't imagine anyone taking on a grizzly bear. But a tiger is that fearless. Okay. I'm going to pull this arm up a little bit here. And this here. So it'll be kind of crossing, kind of like they're crossing lightsabers or something. Okay. Oh, okay. So now I'm like feeling it. I'm feeling it. And then I'll do another layer. And I'm going to get a little more precise pen now, so I can kind of do this a little better. Okay. Oh, feel that line of action. Feel these shapes kind of colliding with each other. And then you'll have to make sure I don't put my head in the way. Sometimes I do that when I do the details.
When you draw the fight scenes in the comic, are you emotionally invested in the same way like you are now?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. A lot of times my family will laugh at me when I'm drawing because they're like, "What's wrong with your face?" And I'm literally trying to feel what that character is feeling. And that goes for any emotion, whether they're sad or happy. I'm a little more method that way, I guess, where I really like to try to feel that emotion and then express that emotion. As an artist, and in what I do as an artist, being a story artist, you have to act with your drawings. Your drawings have to not just be a good drawing; they need to convey, emotion and feeling. And if you can do that, then really, kind of won. We really want to move people one way or the other, right? Like make them excited or make them scared, make them sad. And it's something that, I'm always struggling with and striving for. Thinking about those masses as they fit on each other. And that bear, that big square nose. Ugh. I mean, it's just like when I was a kid playing with toys, but I'm playing with my drawings. Ugh.
How do you draw lynx paws? Why am I struggling so much when I draw?
Oh, lynx paws are tough. They're big. They're exaggerated. Like I said, sometimes I will toil over a certain part of the anatomy because you don't want it to stiffen the pose. You want it to kind of keep it alive, and the paws are kind of big strong anchor points. So for years and years I used to draw the tiger tail too long, and then I started really looking at anatomy and I was like, oh my gosh, how silly. And I had to shorten the tail because as big as they are, they're not that big. And it came from the place where I draw big cats the most, has more leopards than tigers. And so I was drawing leopards, and leopards and mountain lions have much longer tails proportionate to their body. This one's kind of turning out. This one's kind of fun. And I always like people to know if my tiger's a girl or a boy. This one's a boy.
What jaw do you think is stronger, tiger or bear?
Sorry, what?
What jaw do you think is stronger, tiger or bear?
What draw?
Jaw.
Oh, jaw. Boy, I don't know. That could be a question for the biologist tomorrow. I'm real excited. He agreed to do it. I've actually asked him questions in the past because I didn't know if certain animals really did live in the taiga, because there isn't a lot of stuff here in America that you can buy, on that area of the world. And so I've asked him, is the Amur Goral, is that really over there? And then there was one where someone was posting some reindeer. I was like, are reindeer really over there? And then he had to correct me and say, no, reindeer are not there. So I did not add reindeer, but I almost did for a beat, because a Russian site that I follow that posts animals from that area posted the reindeer. I almost called them caribou. What should we call them here? Okay. Can you tell how long we've been live, Ben?
I have no idea.
Okay. Why don't you look on this? It'll tell us. Because they
You have
bounce.
6 minutes left until it kicks you off.
Oh, okay. You can add some stripes to kind of make it exciting. So, when you add two characters, your drawings get a little trickier because you have to figure out how they're going to kind of interact. But it's fun. And I think it's so cool that the Ussuri brown bear is sometimes called the black grizzly. I think that's cool because they're so dark. There's a story that fascinates me from here in California about Monarch. And Monarch was the last recorded grizzly bear in California, and he's also the bear that is on our flag. So there's kind of a bittersweet irony to it. And in the big earthquake in San Francisco in 1909, can't remember the year. He became a mascot for it because he survived it, and then after that he was kind of immortalized as the bear on our flag. But then ironically tragically, he was the last recorded grizzly bear. But he was very dark, and people thought he was a black bear initially, just an enormous black bear. But then they did confirm that no, he was a grizzly bear.
The tiger seems enormous compared to the brown bear.
Hey, the scale might be a little off. That's true, because bears are big. I did try to make him girthy, but the bear could be a little bigger. I agree with that. This is a younger bear, we'll say. How's that? Not full grown. Okay, so that was a ton of fun. Why don't we draw an elephant really fast? Because I just love drawing elephants. Okay, so I'm starting with a big circle here. And then I'm thinking about the top. I'm thinking about that zygomatic arch. Okay? Now in elephants, there's a big hole here in their skull. And then there's kind of just a little eye socket off to the side. And, there's belief that that's where the myth of the Cyclops, came from. Who knows? I think it's fun to think that way. So then off of kind of the zygomatic arch there, you're going to get their small eyes that come off here. One cool thing about elephants, and I've had the wonderful privilege of seeing and drawing them in the wild in Africa, which was so amazing. And one thing I learned there from our guides is just like we are left or right-handed, an elephant will be left or right tusked. And because of that, one tusk will usually be more worn down than the other. So in this case, this guy might be right tusked, and his right tusk is a little more worn than the other. So here, I'm just doing really, really rough shapes. Elephants are great too, because you can really get some cool expressions out of them. Okay, this pen's dying. Let's just do a quick draw over before we get bounced off. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is a lot of fun for me. I enjoy it too. And I hope you guys get things out of it. I have a whole book that I've been working on with a lot of these different animals that will be available to anyone who backs my Kickstarter. And we are very close to funding, and we only have 4 days left, so I think we might get there. And I know times are weird, I know times are uncertain, but if you can, I'd love to share Gulag with you in a physical form, and also my animal drawing book as well. So this is kind of like just a head-on version of an elephant. And I love them because you can get so many expressions out of them. Probably not at this angle. How much more time do we have, Ben?
Like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Where does the expression come from in the elephant?
If I'm going to draw like a caricatured elephant,
Just the eyes.